Hey guys, it's Fred and Sheila.
Good day.
Hatfield McCoy Museum, FS Investigates. Sheila's on the side. This video is a little bit controversial, and Sheila doesn't, I don't want to say doesn't like controversy, which she doesn't, but I've got her in a lot of the videos, and I'm usually controversial, but it doesn't mean that she disagrees with what I'm on. She just don't want to be part of an argument or things like that. So this video here is going to be controversial. To my left over here, over my left shoulder, is the Kentucky State Police Commissioner currently, Philip Burnett Jr. And on my right is the civil rights lawyer. I think is the name of his YouTube channel. And that guy does an excellent job. He's always on cases involving police officers, police brutality, the thing with Danville PD with attorney Ephraim Hilton when they arrested the dementia patient. He just really puts himself out there and seems to mean well. Now he's an attorney, and I'm sure there's alternative compensation for that too, in representing these people and defending them, and he deserves every penny he gets because you can tell by his cases that he works hard on them. Now, the video we're going to see today, we're not going to watch it out because it's on his channel, but since Sheila and I found Joseph Couch September the 18th of last year, and since Colonel Burnett there held his press conference along with Public Relations Trooper Scotty Pennington, and then we read the report of some of the detectives and the officers after the fact of what they wrote and falsified. It's really brought attention to the Kentucky State Police. It brought attention on their own because that night they held a press conference, and Sheila and I came on home. They didn't say nothing to us to be there or do nothing, and in fact, they told us no pictures, but yet they took pictures and gave pictures out to people, but they didn't want us taken. They didn't know Sheila was live streaming and had everything on camera. Had we not had everything on camera, things in our case would have been completely different because of the untrustworthiness of the now Kentucky State Police. I'm not saying all, and I'm not saying it's just now, because as a 40-year career police officer, I've witnessed things throughout the years, but never to this level. Guys, there's some good Kentucky State troopers out there. There was good ones in the past. There's been bad ones in the past, and there's bad ones now. And when you have a bad leader, you turn out bad troopers. You turn out bad followers. That's the leader of the Kentucky State Police there. And when they see the leader of the Kentucky State Police doing things, saying things that's not true, that's not correct, that's not right, your followers tend to do the same thing. There's no repercussions. Go to Fred McCoy 40. Look at the amount of Kentucky State Troopers, and you're going to hear these people talk about it, him and another attorney. Look at the amount of Kentucky State Troopers over the past few years that's up on criminal charges, federal indictments, federal charges, federal investigations. Look at them. This is their leader. This is the man. You're going to hear this one here, that one of them gets disciplined. He gives the other one Trooper of the Year award. Now that one's up on charges as well. Federal charges, federal indictment. Trooper of the Year. Over 1,000 Kentucky State Troopers. And he gives a man Trooper of the Year that had already been involved in several incidents, has since been involved in several more. And if this was a member of your family, you would see the problem. You know, guys, as a police officer, and then I'm going to get on with the video, but as a police officer of 40 years, I've had my share of fights, arrests. You know, the law gives a police officer the right to use whatever force is necessary to effect the arrest. Use whatever force you need to bring that person under control so you can arrest them, take him to jail. That's what our job is. Our job is not to deliver punishment. Our job is not to mistreat people. Our job is to get them from point A to point B so the judge and the prosecutors and juries can hand out their punishment. Somewhere along the way, police officers, especially the Kentucky State Police, has lost their way. They've lost their way. It's all about punishment. It's all about, I'm the police and you're not. It's all about contempt of cop. Video number 2 on my page, Fred McCoy 40 has got Colonel Barnett there when he was a lieutenant arresting a guy for contempt of cop, disorderly conduct, menacing. What a police officer will charge you with when they have no other charge, it's more or less contempt of cop. You didn't do what the officer said. You didn't do it fast enough. You didn't do it with a smile on your face, whatever the problem might be. But that's what Colonel Barnett, lieutenant at the time, arrested a fellow for, because the guy points his finger at him and says, I'm tired of being harassed. He says, you're under arrest. When the tent and so forth. Guy, charges was dropped, prosecutors dropped charges, and he was sued. And probably getting ready to be again, because you're going to hear me talk in a little bit about open records request that I've requested several times now from the Kentucky State Police records custodian on the Joseph Couch case. Been denied, been sent a few things here, a few things there, but you're going to hear why. I'm going to let you hear some of the requests I've had and some of what was said, and then some of what other people say. And you're going to see that there's a discrepancy here. There's something wrong with our Kentucky State Police, with trustworthiness. And guys, if they'll lie to me, they'll lie to you. And if they'll lie to you, they'll lie to anybody else. If you can't trust them, you can't trust them. What's the difference in a police officer being a criminal or a regular criminal out here being a criminal? Why do we allow that? We're police officers supposed to be better. Now, I've had my share of resisting arrest. I've had my share of fights, complaints, anything in 40 years. Been there and done that. There's a difference in punishing somebody and effecting an arrest. Once that arrest is done, you don't pepper spray, you don't tase, you don't strike. Once the handcuffs are on, hands are off. He's at a disadvantage. If you want to fight that fella, don't put handcuffs on him. Fight till you effect the arrest. Once you put those handcuffs on or subdue him or taser him, you're going to see a young man here, they's tasered, and he said, putting your hands behind your back, putting your hand. I about go into shock sticking a 9-volt battery to my tongue just to let it shock you. I can imagine, it's up to the police chief. Some people used to complain. They said, Fred McCoy was never certified on the taser. It's up to the police chief whether you are tased, whether you're pepper sprayed. I've been pepper sprayed. I just can't handle electricity. I'd have a heart attack. I hate electricity. And so I carried a taser, but I was never tased. I've never been tased. I don't have to be. I'm not one of those people that has to touch a hot stove to realize, hey, it's not something I want to do. I'll take your word for it. And I've tased a few, but when you're tasing them and they give up and they're subdued, you stop tasing. He's tasing the guy and he's letting the 5-second clock run down. Tell him, put your hands behind your back. When you're tased, you freeze up. You can't move. Different people react different ways, but the majority of them freezes up. We're going to start this video and we're going to play it. And then we're going to talk about our once beloved Kentucky State Police and what's happened. What happened to the governor? Governor Paul Patton had state troopers that followed him around, escorted him around while he would meet with his lover while they were in hotel rooms. Governor Andy Beshear appointed this fella, And it's been nothing but chaos since he's been the Kentucky State Police Commissioner. We're going to talk about Johnny Edrington. Most of you are familiar with mine and Sheila's take on Johnny Edrington case. The man that refuses to open the case or reopen it or activate the case is right there. The case is open because he don't want to close it, because if you close it, then it's open to open records requests. So they have to keep it open. There's actually some good state troopers, some good detectives out there that's raring to go on this Johnny Edrington case. Give me a shot at it. Give me a shot at it. I'll solve this case. And that's what it takes. You can't solve the case as long as this man here and the lieutenant that's in charge of it keeps it under lock and key so nobody can look at it. Let's play this video. As we go along, I may stop periodically and talk about some things when it relates to something dealing with my experience with this fella and some of the other Kentucky State Police troopers. Go ahead, babe.
I really just need a break this time, man. I'm serious. Like, I know that I'm doing...
What do I need to give you a break on?
What is wrong with you?
When a state trooper gives you a lawful order, you do it.
This is wrong. You're going to get fired.
On March 4th, 2025, a federal grand jury in Louisville, Kentucky, returned a federal criminal indictment. This is the story of Kentucky State Police Trooper James Cameron Wright. He was charged with 3 counts. 2 counts of using excessive force and 1 count of perjury, lying under oath.
Once you had him on the ground, did you strike or hit him with a closed fist at all?
No, sir. He did not need to be struck with my hands or any impact weapon.
But the story of this guy should send a shiver down your spine. Everybody, all the way to the very top of the Kentucky State Police leadership, knew that this guy was a bad cop.
So the cover-up goes all the way up to the current KSP commissioner.
Even with full knowledge of Wright's propensity to commit unlawful violence and that he had lied about it under oath, instead of firing him, they gave him an award, Trooper of the Year. And as a result, he kept doing it over and over again, including to this guy, John Millet. And I'm going to show you the exclusive body cam footage of what he did to that guy that finally got him in real trouble. And only through the tenacity of a brilliant Kentucky civil rights lawyer, Chris Wiest, did the feds finally step in. I talked to Chris and he revealed massive systemic problems within the Kentucky State Police. You need to hear it for yourself and share it with your friends, your family, because this is unbelievable.
Make sure you subscribe to that guy.
It was March 12th of 2024, near the city limits of the town of West Point, Kentucky. Kentucky State Police Trooper James Cameron Wright was on duty in uniform in his marked patrol vehicle. Wright initiates a traffic stop for failure to signal. His dash cam is operating and it shows him stopping the vehicle and then getting out and approaching the driver. Upon contact, he begins to suspect that the driver, John Millet, may be intoxicated.
Lost, bub?
I believe so. I was looking
You seem like you're pretty lost.
Yeah, I was looking for somebody who was selling something on Facebook, and
Oh, where are you trying to get to?
it's
You don't know where you're going without looking at your phone?
no, I was getting the address.
Oh, well, where are you trying to get to, like in general? Like Muldrow, trying to get
It
to
was it was supposed to be Mawdraw, I think.
Oh, you're going the wrong way then, bub.
Oh, okay.
You care to put the cigarette out while we're talking? Because it gets sucked out the window at me. And I don't want to sit here and deal with the smoke while I'm... Appreciate it.
No problem.
Wright then asks Mr. Millet for his driver's license and insurance.
You got your driver's license insurance card on you?
I don't have insurance at the time. I just got my taxes, and I'm looking for car insurance rates.
Sure. Okay.
I'm serious. I really...
No, I believe you.
And
And Millet responds that he does not have insurance. And then he basically begs Trooper Wright, saying that he needs a break.
I really just need a break this time, man. I'm serious. Like, I know that I'm doing...
What do I need to give you a break on?
I'm doing everything wrong. I don't have tags. I don't have insurance.
Okay. I mean, I can deal with that. I'll be honest, I care about that stuff, but I couldn't care less about that compared to other things. You see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
nothing illegal inside the vehicle?
No.
Okay. So where are you trying to get to?
Mawdraw.
Okay, I got you.
Then Wright asks Mr. Millet to turn his car off, to which he complies.
You don't care to turn the car off for a second, okay?
Wright asked Mr. Millet to step out of the vehicle so that he could talk to him. Wright then himself opens Millet's door as Mr. Millet begins to step out.
All right, here, step down and talk to me real quick, okay? No guns, knives, or weapons on your person?
No.
Trooper Wright yells at Mr. Millet not to reach for anything as Mr. Millet gently tosses an object that he had in his hands onto the passenger seat.
Don't reach for anything, you understand me?
Yeah.
Hey, you reach for anything.
Mr. Millet is seen on the body cam raising his hands and that he had a phone in his left arm. Wright grabs Mr. Millet's right arm. Wright again tells Mr. Millet to step out, even though Mr. Millet had already been doing so.
Step out.
With Trooper Wright having grabbed Mr. Millet to control him, and with Mr. Millet having his cell phone in his left hand, Mr. Millet's hands are still raised, demonstrating compliance.
Look, I was just grabbing my lighter.
Even though Mr. Millet did not resist Wright in any way, Wright bear hugs Mr. Millet and violently throws him to the ground.
I'm not even doing nothing
Put your
wrong.
hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back.
I'm not even
Roll
doing
on your
nothing
belly.
wrong.
Get on your belly.
And it was only going to get worse from there.
What is wrong with you?
When a state trooper gives you a lawful order, you do it.
But to understand how we got to this point,
For all you Kentucky State Troopers out there, past and especially present, it's a bad rap. When a Kentucky State Trooper gives you a lawful order, and boys, we're not above the law. Police officers aren't above the law. There was no reason. I don't think there'd be nobody out there that would disagree. There was no reason. The guy was putting his hands behind his back. The guy was complying. There was no reason to grab that man and throw him to the ground, except that you had the authority or thought you did to do it. I don't understand why these people get so aggressive. I used to teach martial arts years ago out of the Marine Corps. We used to teach promote full contact karate fights, didn't we, babe?
Sure did.
There's all kinds of places out here that an officer or anybody that's got an anger problem like that or an ego problem can go to spar, to fight, there's all kinds of, it doesn't take a badge to do that. That's nothing but abuse. That's physical abuse right there. And
how this very footage resulted in finally getting accountability against this trooper, we have to go back like 5 years on the timeline, because this moment would not have happened but for all of the crazy things that happened
5
before.
years ago.
Mr. Millet's lawyer, who filed a federal civil rights lawsuit just a few weeks ago, is going to walk us through that timeline because he himself.
Look right there, guys. Philip Burnett Jr. 919 Versailles Road is the Kentucky State Police Post in Frankfort. I know that address because that's also where I send all the open records requests to concerning the Joseph Couch case. Philip Burnett Jr. is this guy right here. That's the commander, the commissioner of the Kentucky State Police. We were talking a while ago. Why is these troopers all of a sudden so aggressive? Why are we seeing all this abuse? And again, go to Fred McCoy 40 and just look at the Kentucky State Police videos. We had 4 Kentucky State Police officers who was arrested by the DEA or the ATF or somebody in Frankfort for buying steroids at a pill mill. They went to Florida, 4 of them, and bought steroids. Now they come back and they got caught, but instead of arresting them, from what I can understand, they just called Burnett, told him to handle it internally. He fired one of them because he lied. He said that he didn't do it and all this and that or whatever, and he fired him for lying. The other 3, I've got a video on Fred McCoy 40. The other 3 said they just didn't know that it was illegal. You're police officers and you didn't know it's illegal to buy steroids. Why would you go all the way to Florida? Guys, that may explain some of the hostility. That may explain some of the aggression. Steroids causes that. Steroids cause you to have a personality complex, a personality issue, an aggression issue. Is that what's going on? Because if it is, just like this one here was 5 years ago, and then went to become State Trooper of the Year. He's also got 3 that's still out there, as far as I know. 3 state troopers that still working the road that went to Florida and bought steroids, bought drugs. There was 4 of them, but he let 1 of them go. But there's still 3 actively working today. If I'm incorrect, put it in the comments. Still working today that went to Florida to buy illegal drugs. How can you do that? How can you write somebody a speeding ticket when you're buying illegal drugs? How can you charge somebody with assault when you're buying illegal drugs and you're assaulting people? How can you do that? You can do it when you have a boss like this. When the commissioner of the state police allows you to do it, you can do it. See, that's why he's the commissioner of the state police. You're supposed to be a figure of authority. You're supposed to be the boss. The buck stops here. The misbehavior stops here. We're not going to tolerate it in the Kentucky State Police. Sorry, you're going down the road and you hire another one. But when you condone and you continue to smack them on the wrist and send them on their way, this is what you get right here.
Self was the lawyer who was involved 5 years earlier in trying to hold that trooper accountable back then.
March 6, 2020.
5 years ago.
There is a chase of a gentleman by the name of Justin Halcomb. Stops his video, steps out, puts his hands on his truck, and he gets piled on by KSP troopers, including Wright. Shoves his head to the ground, repeatedly and gratuitously strikes him as he's piled on by multiple officers. You've got hospital photos afterwards where Halcomb is jacked up and bloody as a consequence of this. So that's March 6, 2020. April 2, 2020. Wright is involved in the apprehension of a guy by the name of Thomas Davis. Davis is stopped. Wright opens the driver's door, throws him to the ground, even though he wasn't actively resisting, and then he is repeatedly and gratuitously struck. What is interesting about both the Halcomb and Thomas Davis incidents is they generate what is known as an RR report in KSP parlance, which is a response to resistance report. KSP policy is basically to criminally charge every single person that they beat or abuse with obstruction of justice or resisting arrest, specifically resisting arrest, regardless of whether or not this is in their policy.
Wouldn't it be nice to see that file? Wouldn't it be nice to see how many up to this point has actually been charged, filed charges against for assaulting somebody they're arresting or physically abusing?
Wow, that's, oh.
Regardless of whether or not they in fact resisted. If you use force on somebody, you're going to charge them. It's a cover. The policy, the cover up.
Years ago, had a FBI agent, and he said, officers, if you take somebody to jail and you have to take them to the hospital along the way, go to the hospital with them. Quit being such macho and heroes and quit being afraid to go get treatment. And that was some good advice because, police officers, when you take somebody for treatment, there's people that resist. And you take them to the hospital, a lot of times the officer is hurt worse than the person that the prisoner they're taking. But they don't go. They don't go because of ego. They don't go because they don't want this reputation of, oh, he had to go to the hospital. Or he doesn't want to give the bad guy the satisfaction of going back and telling his friends, yeah, he took me to jail, but I sent him to the hospital. And see, a lot of times police officers misunderstand that, so they don't go get treatment when they're hurt by somebody who is actually resisting arrest. Now, these guys here, these officers that we're watching these videos on, especially the one that's just indicted, that's gone on for 5 years doing people like this, they don't count. These guys are they're abusing other people. But there are people out there that actually fight and give the officer a run for his money where he's as hurt as the arrestee is. And the best advice there is for the report, for the FBI, for the courts, go get treatment. If you got hurt during an arrest, drop the ego and go get treatment. Let them be a medical record for you as well as for them. Now, that was back in the old days. Back in the old days, there was no body cams. There was no recording. Back in the old days, and still today, people make up stories and they say, this officer beat me. That officer did this. That when it's one word against the other, that's what you got. And you can't go by that because the bad guys do lie. Just like some police officers, of course. But nowadays, when you've got video cam and you've got a trooper slamming a man to the ground for no apparent reason, that's abuse. It doesn't matter if he goes to the hospital or not. We've got that video cam that shows that that's not correct, what he just did.
Is embedded in KSP policy. It's insane. The lieutenant colonel that's in charge of operations is now the KSP commissioner. And in that capacity, he is reviewing the internal affairs recommendations on these.
It's PJ.
He's seen all of these reports.
That's PJ, guys. That's old Philip Burnett Jr. That's PJ. The man known as PJ to his fellow troopers. Yeah, babe. To answer your question, that's what he's saying. That he reviews, he looks at these files when they come across his desk, and it's up to him to fire, convict, charge criminally, so forth. It's up to him. And again, the thing to be would be to see how many he actually does that with, because the videos that I show on Fred McCoy 40, including the one of him where he was sued for falsely arresting a fella, charging him with disorderly or menacing, simply for pointing his finger at him, says, you're going to stop harassing me.
Wow.
There's what you've got in charge of the Kentucky State Police. If you want to know what's wrong, or some of what's wrong with the Kentucky State Police, it starts there. It starts at the top and rolls downhill.
Response to resistance reports. And he signs off on and approves that there was no unlawful use of force on both Davis and Halcomb, both of which a federal grand jury has found probable cause to arrest and charge these troopers with criminal use of force. So
it's a federal grand jury. That's not just a prosecutor or a U.S. attorney. They've taken it before a federal grand jury and showed them the videos, and they've agreed with what 99.9% of the people that watches this civil rights lawyer videos, and you'll agree with that there's something wrong here.
cover up goes all the way up to the current KSP commissioner.
The cover up. You see what he named it? The cover up. I'm going to show you something here at the end of this video that in writing, I'll show you two reports and you can compare. They're both from the Kentucky State Police, and one says this, one says that, totally opposite of the other. Which one do you believe? They come from his office. This is his people. They work for him. Who do you believe? Or do you believe either one of them?
Burnett.
Philip Burnett. His signature is on these response to resistance reports.
Okay, to all the
The
troopers.
guy who is now the head of the Kentucky State Police signed off on those uses of force as being justified or being lawful. And now, 5 years later, a federal grand jury has indicted Wright for both of those uses of force.
Correct.
Got it.
All right. Timeline, April 9th, 7 days after the Davis incident.
Everybody's
we've got
familiar
the Alex
with it.
Hornback incident, which you've reported on, I reported on, we've got the video. They didn't know we had basement camera. They threatened mom and dad with arrest over the dad's cell phone.
The troopers didn't know. They thought he was just filming on his cell phone. They didn't know he had security cameras also throughout his house. So they were being filmed. And then when they went for depositions, of course, under oath, they swore a lie. A lot of what will probably come of this case that I'm working on, because we have police reports, some of the police reports, and they state one thing, And I want to see these troopers get under oath and swear to that. And then I want to show the YouTube videos that Sheila and I happen to be running, some live, some recorded, but a video doesn't lie. Reports, police reports do. That's people's wrote into history, but recordings don't lie. So there's going to be some more interesting stories on some state troopers come out of the Joseph Couch case when it's all said and done.
Video because they didn't want any of it captured. They both say they use no force, even though we've got video of it. Both Czartoryski and Wright under oath.
The Hornback arrest resulted in a civil rights lawsuit alleging excessive force. That was filed by Chris Wiest. When Chris took these officers' depositions, both Trooper Wright and also Trooper Czartoryski, neither one of them knew that Chris had this video from inside the home that showed them striking Mr. Hornback. Since they did not know that proof existed that they did that, even though they were under oath at the deposition, they lied and said they did not strike him at all. Chris caught them red-handed committing perjury. Here you can see for yourself Trooper Wright lying under oath.
Once you had him on the ground, did you strike or hit him with a closed fist at all?
No, sir.
Okay. Or any part of your body?
No, sir.
Okay. And the reason that you didn't do that is that there was no more force that was required at that point in time to have affected the arrest, right?
He did not need to be struck with my hands or any impact weapon.
Maybe the craziest part of the story is what happened afterwards. In that lawsuit, the federal judge calls out these two cops for lying. So what do Kentucky prosecutors and the Kentucky State Police do as a result? Both cops, Wright and Czartoryski, lied about unnecessarily beating and striking Mr. Hornback. But only Czartoryski was forced to resign and indicted on state perjury charges, and ultimately convicted never to work as a police officer again. Given the fact that Wright did the exact same thing as Czartoryski, why didn't any of that happen to him? He was not fired. He was not forced to resign. He was not charged. In fact, he was given an award for Trooper of the Year. You could not make this up if you wanted to.
Trooper of the Year. Why was one fired and one given Trooper of the Year? Why was 4 troopers that went to Florida to buy steroids, 3 of them still working today and 1 fired? Why?
It's interesting.
Of course it is. This is PJ. This is the commissioner.
Czartoryski ends up being, ending his career with the KSP. He's put on probation for state perjury charge. He's never allowed to hold a law enforcement career. He was in the military as an officer at the time, and the National Guard, I believe. Part of his probation term is that had to end. So he's taken out of positions of trust and confidence as a consequence of the perjury conviction. Wright, meanwhile, is allowed to continue, and in fact, is nominated by Burnett and others as Trooper of the Year, with knowledge of all of this going on. Okay, so he's the pedestal guy that they're holding up. The perjurer. By the way, Wright was indicted.
Out of all the Kentucky state troopers that's in the state of Kentucky, many good troopers. That's who this man chose for Trooper of the Year. Imagine that. Out of all the excellent, the honest, integrity, good character troopers that there are out there, and there are some, they wasn't nominated. They wasn't picked. This man, who had a reputation of doing what he's now indicted for federally, was selected Trooper of the Year. Tell me what the other troopers think about their administrator. What does the other troopers, the good troopers, think? And the bad troopers, the other bad troopers, what do they think? Well, they think they can do anything they want and get away with it, as long as they stay on the good side of PJ, Colonel Burnett.
For perjury by the
Why is he showing him special treatment?
Who knows?
I wasn't.
Who knows? Why is he the commissioner of the state police? Why did Governor Andy Beshear pick him as the commissioner of state police? Politics. Why is anything like it is? Do you think he's picked on his merit when he arrested a guy for pointing his finger at him, made up charges on him? It's politics. Politics plays a big part in everything. I don't know who this trooper's family is, or who he's related to, or he knows, or how much he kisses butt, brown noses, whatever you want to call it. Again, look when Paul Patton was the governor. Governor Paul Patton had Kentucky state troopers that drove him to the hotel where he would meet his lover at and stay in the parking lot for, what was it, 4 or 5 hours? It was reported each session. My Lord. And they're out in the parking lot or in the lobby, wherever they're at. Guys, state police, I know it's a job, and it's just like the Johnny Edrington case. You know, these guys say, oh, we was afraid we'd lose our job. Well, you're not a police officer. You're not a good. Doug Asher says, well, I'm not going to go over the Johnny Edrington case, but he says that it was a S side 35 years later, and was a S side then, but they called it something else where the family could get insurance. If that's true, they committed insurance fraud. Where does it end? Where do we take people to jail and beat them up and tase them and pepper spray them for one thing less than what they're doing themselves? We've got to do better. We got to have one strike and you're out. First, they got to get a new Kentucky State Police commissioner to get the politics out of it and appoint somebody that's got a tight rein and that will make these guys mind. Police officers are not above the law.
Feds recently for his same testimony in the Hornback case. So we've got all this going on, and it's being covered up. And in fact, they're holding Wright up as the Trooper of the Year in and around that time with knowledge of all of this. By the way, one of the things that we've also come to learn, and this is in the Millet lawsuit, is the person that was investigating these post-4 use of forces. There's a sergeant. The sergeant, by the way, was himself the subject of multiple lawsuits.
What is his name?
Yeah, let me find it. Jeremy Mabe.
M-A-B-E?
M-A-B-E. Yeah, so Mabe's the immediate supervisor who.
I don't know, guys, if that's the one that I did a video on. You can go back to Fred McCoy 40 and look. There was a Kentucky State Trooper that was off duty and was coming to a construction site somewhere, maybe I-75. And he got into a fight, a physical fight with the road crew. He attacked a woman, from what it was on video on the news, went after a woman, a road guard, a flagman, and then the men that was there tackled him and held him till the police come. And I don't know what happened on that case. I've got a video on it. But he's saying that at least somebody that was in, maybe there's two, maybe there's another trooper that had a problem with a road crew. That'd be hard to believe, but anything's possible with the state police right now. But if it's true, then this is the trooper that was up on charges himself for assaulting the road crew. And now he's in charge of investigating other troopers who are accused of mistreating arrestees or abuse.
Is assigned to investigate most of these uses of force. And generally he is writing in repeated use of force investigations. The subject took a belated aggressive stance, and that justifies all these people getting jacked up. And maybe
see what he's saying? He flexed. He did something that made me think that he was going to resist, so I had to act on him. That guy wasn't resisting in no form, fashion, or manner. You'll hear the trooper, and I've talked about this on some of our videos before, when people's got body cams on, especially, you can hear them saying, quit resisting, stop doing this, stop. And they're trying to draw their attention in case there's a jury trial or somebody that's inexperienced and not paying attention. And you're thinking what you're hearing, you're thinking, oh, this must be happening because he's telling them to stop resisting, so he must be resisting. And sometimes you'll hear the person say, I'm not resisting, and they're not. It's just what the officer is speaking onto that video. They're smart enough to know how to manipulate it. It's sad, and I'm sorry to be giving you this news, but it's true. I don't know what's happened to law enforcement. And again, there's times that police officers have to fight. There's some bad guys out there. And the sad thing is that officers like this makes it hard for the other ones, the good ones, to do their job, because everybody says, oh, they must just be beating people up. No, they may actually be resisting. They may be defending themselves, but because of
is involved in the whitewash. So that's also going on. And there's a pattern of it, including the investigation of Halcomb and Davis, both of which are the subject of federal indictments at this point. Halcomb had whitewashed, bladed aggressive stance. So that's also going on. March 12, 2024, we've got the incident with my client, Mr. Millet. There is the traffic stop. I don't think there's any argument by us about the legality of the stop, nor is there argument by us about the legality of the arrest. It's somewhat apparent that, he had been drinking a little. And I don't think we take issue with that aspect of it, but we do take issue with the use of force. And so Wright's got body-worn camera. There's also some dash camera footage. My whistleblower, by the way, is prepared to testify that when...
And that's the magic word, guys, and that's what it takes. FBI, state police, police departments, whistleblowers. That's what it takes, is somebody that's got enough character and integrity about themselves to stand up and speak out when they see other officers doing something that they shouldn't be doing, and that's not correct. Going against the grain, you're going the opposite direction of where everybody else is going. But that's what it's going to take in order to ever straighten people up and make them,
with full knowledge of Wright's propensity operating, and it shows him stopping the vehicle and then getting out and approaching the driver. Upon contact, he begins to say,
what is wrong with you?
When a state trooper gives you a lawful order, you do it.
But to understand how we got to this point,
Look, I was just grabbing my lighter.
even though Mr. Millet did not resist Wright in any way, Wright bear hugs Mr. Millet and violently throws him to the ground.
I'm not even doing nothing wrong.
Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back.
I'm not even doing nothing wrong.
Get on your belly.
And it was only going
say they use no force, even though we've got video of it. There's a sergeant. The sergeant, by the way, was himself the subject of it, including...
I'll find it in a minute.
And I don't think we take issue with that aspect of it, but we do take issue with the use of force. And so Wright's got body-worn camera. There's also some dash camera footage. My whistleblower, by the way, is prepared to testify that when KSP first got body cameras, one of the first people it was issued to was Cameron Wright, because they knew he was out there tuning up citizens, illegally, and they wanted to kind of tone him down a little bit by getting him a body camera. Didn't stop him, obviously.
So turning back to the body cam footage showing what happened to Mr. Millet at the hands of James Cameron Wright, Wright had thrown Mr. Millet to the ground. Once on the ground, Wright demanded that Mr. Millet place his hands behind his back. So Mr. Millet did that. He immediately placed his hands behind his back.
I'm not even doing nothing wrong.
Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back.
But then Wright yells for Mr. Millet to get on his belly. Mr. Millet's hands are still behind his back at that point.
I'm not even doing nothing wrong.
Get on your belly.
Wright then yells again for Mr. Millet to get on his belly, and less than a second later,
get on your belly!
Wright then deploys his taser. Wright's dashcam footage reveals not just one, but two separate deployments of his taser, where you hear popping noise for extended periods of time. Wright continues his taser.
When you when you activate a taser, that electricity shoots through your body for 5 seconds. Each time you activate the trigger, you get a 5-second jolt of electricity. And what he's saying there is he done it twice. So he got 2 jolts. He got 10 seconds. Now, it may not sound like a lot to some people. Count 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005. Now, that's a long time to sit there and have electricity paralyzing you. And then holler, put your hands behind your back and you're locked in, and then tase you again. Or in one case, he pepper sprayed the other guy.
Taser deployment for approximately 10 seconds.
Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back.
I'm good.
Do not move.
He's tasing him while they've got this blurred out, but if you've seen the original, he's tasing him all the time that he's telling him, put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back. He's doing that for the video camera. He's doing that like he's resisting. He's not. He's locked in. He can't. The electricity's got him locked. He can't put his hands behind his back. He can't move. Same one that there's another video where he does another fella like that, and then he pepper sprays him besides tasing him. That's punishment.
You understand me?
After Wright ceases taser deployment, Mr. Millet flips to his stomach with his hands behind his back.
What is wrong with you?
When a state trooper gives you a lawful order, you do it. Do not move, you understand? You are under arrest.
For what?
For obstructing and now resisting arrest.
No, I didn't. Your camera will show.
Yeah, do
I
not
swear
move.
to God, it'll show.
I can smell weed and I can smell alcohol.
There ain't no fucking weed in the car.
Yeah, I can smell alcohol on you.
No, you ain't got no right to search my vehicle.
I don't care if he's drunk as a monkey, guys. I don't care if he's so drunk he can't stand up. It doesn't give us the right to abuse anybody. That's what this job entails. Law enforcement job, 60% of it probably entails somebody that's impaired, either on drugs or alcohol or some kind of substance. We're not always dealing with people in their right mind, or we probably wouldn't need police officers. If everybody thought straight out correctly and justly, probably wouldn't need police officers. It's only when they are impaired. Well, do we beat everybody up that we go to a complaint on that's impaired or had a beer or 50 beers? It don't matter how many. We're not allowed to discipline them. We're not allowed to punish them just because he's not. But if that man was dog drunk, he still won't be right in what just happened, slamming him to the ground, tasing him twice.
I didn't do nothing wrong. I didn't do nothing wrong.
Mr. Millet is then handcuffed and pulled to his feet. Immediately after that, Trooper Wright again gratuitously throws Mr. Millet back to the ground,
In handcuffs.
injuring him. Mr. Millet complains and screams.
In handcuffs, he throws him to the ground. He can't even catch himself. His hands are behind his back. So there's, like me or you would fall, we would put our hands down and try to catch. He can't. He's handcuffed. That's why cuffs on, hands off. They have no way to defend themselves. There's absolutely no reason to whoop somebody or beat somebody or slam somebody or throw somebody once they're in handcuffs.
Out due to severe shoulder pain.
Do not dare try to go back towards that car.
See how he's speaking into history? He's speaking into the camera. Don't dare go back towards that car. Like he was going to make a run for the car. Oh, he must be going to get in the car and drive off or get a gun, or he's handcuffed behind his back, guys. See, you can't go by what you're hearing. Don't you dare try to go back towards that car. He's wanting that for the body camera. He's wanting that for court. Well, I thought he was going to run back to his car. Okay, let him run back to his car. What's he going to do? He's handcuffed behind his back. So don't always go by what you hear. Use your brain and watch what you're looking at and what you see.
Why did you do this to me? My fucking shoulder's broke, dude.
It ain't broke.
You just fucking slammed me.
Stand up.
You just slammed me and I didn't even touch you.
You tried to pull me back towards your car.
No, I didn't.
Quit pulling against me. You're going back down.
I have rights. This is wrong. You're gonna get fired.
No, you're drunk. No weed, and I'm about to search that car, so you better tell me what's in the car right now.
Basically, he just escalates a routine traffic stop into violence, just like he's done in all these other incidents.
Oh yeah, I think we're now like case 6 or 7 of this.
That trooper was a fight looking for a place to happen. That's his MO. He liked that. He was a fight looking for a place to happen. The whole traffic stop, every one of them that they show on him, is escalated by him, not by arrestee, but by him.
He's the grand-
You know, that we know of. And frankly, there's a lot more to it. My understanding is he has generated over 100 use of force incidents, but you know, we're still investigating that.
What happened with the criminal prosecution of Millet?
So he was charged with resisting and everything else. That gets knocked down. I think he pled to an open container charge and a reduced charge on the driving of influence charge.
At what point was the use of force questioned in the Millet incident?
Well, by KSP, because Millet goes to the hospital, right? Millet wasn't just tased. I think he was thrown twice. And as a consequence of all of this, he's taken to Baptist Health for treatment. Ultimately, he goes to the hospital. He's got a fracture of 7 of his ribs, a dislocation of his left shoulder. Obviously, when the taser strikes you twice, and he was tased twice, those probes go into your skin. It's like a barb that goes into your skin. So all that occurs. That's his physical injuries. Because he is taken to the hospital, they have to do an.
I know some people says I stopped the video and talk too much, but I like to inform people, because if you've never been in law enforcement, or the barbs he's talking about on a taser, there's 2 of them, a negative and positive, just like on a battery. And what they have on them, you've seen a fish hook. Everybody's seen a fish hook. When you get it in your skin, it won't come out. The barbs on the taser is not as big as that of a fish hook. But there are barbs, there are hooks on those barbs. And when they go under the skin, when they shoot in, they go under the skin and they hook. So they don't just pull back out. It's just not a straight. You have to take it and pull it to the side a little bit and pull it out, or tear the skin to get that hook, the fish hook part of it, out from underneath the skin. So that's painful in itself. He was tased twice actively, but the barbs were already in. As long as those barbs are in you, you just pull the trigger again, and it automatically shoots the electricity back toward them. There's something called dry tasing. If you want to dry tase somebody, if you don't have the barbs on the end of your taser, you take the clip off, put the 2 barbs on the taser to their skin, and what's called dry tasing them, just putting the pistol, the taser up against their body and pulling the trigger. It does the same thing.
RR report, and there's a discussion between him and the lieutenant at the scene. We think it's Lieutenant McKee, but I'm not 100% sure about that, so I've sued all the lieutenants. And they're talking about how Wright needs to respond to this, to not to not violate policy. Basically, they're talking about how it's on the camera at the hospital. There's this discussion with the lieutenant of like how to cover it up. That's pretty problematic, although that's part and parcel with what's going on at post 4 KSP. So, like I said, there's a pattern of practice issue here. Millet's admitted to St. Mary's Hospital. We've got 7 days of hospital admission records with all this treatment. And so, all that's going on as well.
He was hospitalized for 7 days as a result of this?
Yes.
Damn.
He's got broken ribs. He's significantly jacked up as a consequence of this. We're getting ready to sue, and I was aware for a while that the FBI was looking into Cameron Wright as early in Zortorsky as early as 2021. I might want to mention Sergeant Mabe. We talked about him. He was sued in 2017 for a use of force incident and threatening to illegally arrest road workers. He was sued again. This is the investigator, right? This is the guy that's holding people accountable. Sued again for excessive force and false arrest, and Turner v. Mabe in 2020 in federal court. So, who's policing the people that are supposed to police the police? When they're getting sued themselves. So, there's a problem here.
And then he did it again a few months after Millet to this Blevins guy.
Yep, the Blevins.
All right, Mr. Blevins, stay that for me real quick.
I ain't got to get out of here. A typical traffic stop last June turned tense when a Kentucky trooper turned his taser on Dawson Blevins.
I was thinking he wasn't going to stop tasing me.
A lawsuit filed Monday claims trooper James Wright became aggressive when Blevins didn't want to get out of the car. He eventually did, and that's when the situation escalated.
Oh, on video
for the year.
In the video, Blevins is tackled and tased multiple times while expressing to Wright he can't comply with his orders.
a person's past often predicts their future. Notice this one here. He tases twice also. He doesn't only tase this one twice, he also pepper sprays them.
Hands behind your back. Okay.
He was then maced.
Put your hands behind your back.
Yet another case of him taking just a routine traffic stop, and when somebody doesn't respond quickly enough, throwing them on the ground violently and tasing them.
Yeah. I mean, that's the pattern and MO of this guy.
Listen to the video there, guys. He says, put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back. The guy says, I can't. He's locked in. He's tasing him at the same time he's telling him. You can't give somebody a command. You can. They do it. But you can't expect them to heed to that command because he can't move. He has no, it's not that he's not wanting to, not willing to. He can't. The physical body will not allow him to work his muscles.
If you look at the Second Amendment complaint that's been tendered, a lot of that information, particularly in paragraphs 77 through 98, discuss what the command staff knew of, how there was the systemic cover-up. That we're prepared to substantiate that by way of testimony. We got a KSP insider that's willing to point the finger all the way up the chain of command on this, and it's a problem. I don't know why,
guys. This goes all the way to the governor of Kentucky. The governor of Kentucky appointed that man right there, and the governor of Kentucky has known for quite a while what's going on with the Kentucky State Police and non-disciplinary action. So if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And by the governor allowing this to continue, he's, in my opinion, he's no better than Colonel Burnett there. He's no better. Andy Beshear, the governor of Kentucky, is no better. If that's who he has appointed for his state police commissioner out of all the state troopers out there, there's nothing that says that state police commissioner has to be a state trooper. They could hire, just like the FBI when they were getting these FBI directors. You don't have to hire somebody within the agency. Hire somebody it's not like he's going to be out there working a murder case, a theft investigation. This guy's job is to supervise 1,000 Kentucky State employees and keep them in line. And the best way to keep somebody in line is you fire some and the rest will take notice. You get rid of the bad ones and the rest will either straighten up or go somewhere else. But when you continue to slap them on the wrist or give them, in this case, Trooper of the Year, you fire one, give the other one Trooper of the Year, what kind of message is that?
They are undertaking cover-up as opposed to trying to clean up the organization, appropriately training troopers on active versus passive resistance. The rot is all the way to the top, and it's unfortunate because KSP for a long time always had this gold standard in Kentucky. I do think the accountability's got to run to the top.
State police was once the cream of the crop. It was Kentucky's finest. FBI was once supreme law enforcement agency. And then you had McCabe and Struck and Mueller, William Sessions, now Comey. Look what they've done. They've taken a great law enforcement agency through politics and look what they turned it into and how they've lost respect. The same way the state police is losing respect at every juncture. And you'll see here in a minute what I'm talking about.
And I'd love to get some systemic changes in how they train, how they handle resistance response. They went out, I don't know if you know this was in the complaint, true story, substantiated by open records requests. They went out and spent money on a new tracking system in place with other organizations called IA Pro. They spent more than $100,000 for IA Pro software.
Track assaults.
And it would allow tracking of like these E42 incidents that now they're covering up. They decided not to do that because they don't want tracking within KSP of these use of force incidents to be able to demonstrate pattern and practice. Like this is not sort of a, hey, I'm at the top, I'm busy, this didn't catch my attention. This is, I am making deliberate decision making to cover up serious misconduct all the way to the top of the organization. Cameron Wright, he gets criminally charged by the United States Department of Justice. I mean, by the way, when they came in, like, it's not just the local U.S. attorneys that are part of this. If you look at the appearance, there are attorneys from Main Justice, the criminal division, the Civil Rights Division criminal section. I think there's 4 or 5 of them that have been assigned to this. Like this has gotten the attention of Washington, D.C. It's been that bad. Wow. They're indicting Cameron Wright. KSP leadership is signing off on the same incidents. Like, there's a disconnect.
Is Wright still employed by the Kentucky State Police?
He is employed. They put him on paid leave, is my understanding, pending the criminal outcome. So even the indictment was not sufficient to end his employment. He is being paid, this is my understanding, he's being paid by the taxpayers to sit at home right now while his criminal charges are pending. Wright was indicted, by the way, just so I can be clear, for the March 5th incident on Mr. Halcomb, use of force, excessive use of force, for the March 12th incident on my client, Mr. Millet. So that's number 2. That's the second use of force. And for the perjury incident in the Hornback case, those were the 3 charges that have been in federal charges against Cameron Wright. I think I've run, because I was curious what his sentencing guidelines would be if he's convicted on all 3, assuming he doesn't plea. I think he's looking at around 3 to 4 years in a federal penitentiary if he's convicted on all those charges.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate it. I think that brings us up the timeline to the present.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can do another update video after he's convicted and you guys have won this lawsuit. Well, there you have it. Serious problems in Kentucky. It's so bad that the feds are having to come in and prosecute this guy for uses of force that the literal head of the Kentucky State Police personally approved of and signed off on back when they happened. It's no wonder we're seeing so many videos coming out of Kentucky. Hell, my last video was on the Kentucky State Police. So I will continue to follow this for sure. You can follow along by subscribing both here and at the blog at thecivilrightslawyer.com. You can help by spreading this footage, including to your politicians. Everybody in the country ought to know what is happening right now in Kentucky. This is not a political issue. This is not a partisan issue. This is an issue of police leadership in Kentucky not following the laws and rules that we already have and expect them to follow, which government...
Agree. Put that big screen, baby. Guys, give me just a minute here.
Yeah, I'm gonna remove this and do the bring it up.
See how it's been doing? It's been coming in and out like that. I don't know if it's the lighting. Hopefully it won't be on that like that on the screen, but if it is, it is. Guys, I want to just a 2-second. I'll have her add this at the back because this is going to be an hour-long video. Some of those and some where I've stopped and talked, but I have sent numerous open records requests to the Kentucky State Police dealing with the Joseph Couch case. Okay. We're writing a book on it. We've wrote one, and we found some other things. The Lowell County Sheriff's Department sent us their records, their file, and open records request with no problem, no issue. I've sent probably 6 or 7 letters to Kentucky State Police. First, I got nothing. Second, I got a page or 2, and then I got this or that. Now, and I had sent in one copy of a thing I received. It said that the state trooper, the reports filed by Officer Making Report, Trooper Daiquiri Larkey, unit number 1121, date 9/19/24. And it says, because I had asked for any body cam, and it says here, and I had even made a comment before when we were talking about Sheila and I finding Mr. Couch's remains, and the trooper's been way up on the hill going the opposite direction. They were going to go on around the hill, following the scent that was going up the hill, and then the breeze was catching it, and they were following it on around. And I asked, I said, wish the media would file an open records request and get the body cam from these officers, and you could see how far they were, because Commissioner Burnett said he appreciated Sheila and I assisting the state police in finding Mr. Couch's remains. He appreciated our help. And so we said it'd be good to have the body cams. And we requested the body cams. And this one trooper here, he wrote, as myself and Sergeant Owens was making a downward descent into the trail, it became apparent the bush was overtaking us from down trees and briars, whereas the trail was becoming less visible. We then attempted to scale a downed tree to reach a higher trail. There was no trails, not in that area. It was all brush. Whereas my state issued body-worn camera became dislodged from my duty belt and fell into the ravine. I then scaled back down to retrieve the BWC and then placed it into a cargo pocket due to it no longer being accessible to my belt. Now, there's a whole lot more here that you'll see in a book to come. But that trooper there says that when we was asking for body cams and to show where they were at, because he later says that he was there with us when we found Mr. Couch's remains. He later says that in his report, that he looked up and could see the remains. Went all the way down the hill while he was running. He was asking, is he on your left? Is he on your left? And so forth like that. Traveled great distance. We do a video and show the distance in that time limit. And you'll be surprised how far you can travel in that time limit. But he says he dropped his body camera. Now, you're out here looking for a man that has shot 5 people, tried to kill 5 people. He shot to kill. He shot 5 people and he shot 17 cars on I-75. You're looking for a mass murder had he succeeded. The reason Sheila had her camera out that day is we usually called a relative and told them where we were going to be at and where we parked at in case we didn't check back in that evening for them to call the state police. We didn't call that day. We headed straight down over the hill, and Sheila just started live feeding. The reason she was live feeding is not for video content. We were live feeding in case something happened to Sheila and I. Unbeknownst to us, we didn't know at that time that he was deceased. We seen the birds, and we'd been looking for birds and been following the birds, but that could have also been a dead animal as well as Mr. Couch. So we were filming live, so in case something happened, he got the jump on Sheila and I, that somebody watching that live video, and they were hundreds, maybe even thousands. I think the video's got over 2 million views now. So now 2 million people has seen what happened that day when Mr. Couch's remains were found, and what Mr. Burnett said and Scotty Pennington says either on Facebook or to the news media. They know who's telling the truth now. And in this report, this trooper also says one thing, but the video shows something else. And this is again like the Hornback case, where you get them under oath and you ask them if this report is true and did you say this and that, and then you show them the video. It's not easy to prove. It's not hard to prove a lie. But what I want to show you there, and at the end of the video, she'll post this paper. Okay. And that's where he's saying he dropped his camera. Now, he's looking for a mass murderer, possibly. That could be the most dangerous person he's ever looked for. But he drops his camera, and he takes his camera instead of putting it back on his belt, or instead of holding it up and filming everything around, he puts it in his pocket. We're to believe that. We're to believe that. Now, this last request I sent to the Kentucky State Police Commissioner, Philip Burnett, and records custodian, Miss Dawson. That's who I've been dealing with. And I mentioned that if I have to, they always want to say if you're not happy with something, you have the right to go file a complaint with the Attorney General's office. You have a right to take it to circuit court. Well, you also have the right to sue. You also have the right to sue. And sometimes in depositions, under oath, sworn depositions, you can get more out of people than you can by just filing a complaint. And that would be the way that looks like we're going to have to go in order to get to the truth and put people under oath and ask them what happened, or where's these records, or where's that records. Because here's the latest that I just got yesterday, June the 30th, 2025, they wrote. I just got it in the mail yesterday. And it says, you requested body cam footage from the troopers who responded, Jesse Owens, Daiquiri Larkey, and Scotty Pennington, specifically. Any and all footage from the time the troopers responded to the cell Tower Hill and entered the woods on September the 18th. In addition, you requested body cam, and goes on and on about body cam. And her response was that there is no body cam. Troopers were not equipped with body-worn cameras. KSP notified you that Troopers Owens, Larkey, and Pennington were not equipped with body-worn cameras, and therefore KSP does not possess any responsive body cam video recording from those individuals. Following a diligent search, Sheila will post this at the end. Now, you're going to see a whole bunch more because we've got about a 400-page report book that should be out here pretty soon. And we've taken all the files that we have received. Some we haven't, but those will come with, looks like, a lawsuit and depositions, and maybe even some perjury charges. I see you. She's over there doing that. But hopefully, if people's lied on these reports and they've made false reports, and we can prove otherwise, I can prove otherwise. Sheila, don't go down this road. This is me. And I can prove otherwise, then you might see some indictments from this case. Because when you've got people on video saying or doing or one thing, and they write something else in an official police report, and then you swear under oath that it's true. So that's where we're at with the Kentucky State Police. This has been a long video, and unless you're into bad law enforcement, and we've discussed that through the Doug Asher, Colonel Doug Asher, and Post 11. We've discussed that through Johnny Edrington's murder case that we can't get an active investigation on, even though there's many new things that's come to light that people says that they contacted the state police 36, 37 years ago and nobody responded. Why? Why is that? Why is this man here refuse to put some detectives on it and have them investigated again? Why is that? We don't know why. Why is people out here beating people on the side of the road and tasing them and pepper? Why? Non-supervision. Non-professionalism. And guys, I'm going to tell you, I've worked with many troopers in 40 years, Kentucky State Police troopers, and they are some great men and women out there. A lot of them's deceased now that I've worked with over the years. A lot of them still alive. Great troopers. They wouldn't act like this, and they wouldn't support other state police troopers that do. We're still friends today. I've not lost one friend over any videos, a state trooper friend, over any video that I have made on Fred McCoy 40, exposing bad cops, bad police officers. The reason I haven't lost any is because they know I'm telling the truth, and they agree with what I'm showing and what I'm saying. We don't have to treat people like this. We have got to go back to protecting and serving. Fight when you have to. Fight when you have to. You have somebody actively resisting, and they're out there. You don't have to go looking for them. You'll run up on them. If you do your job good enough, and you want to fight, believe me, they're out there. You don't have to go pick fights with with people that don't want to fight. You don't have to abuse people. And when they do abuse people, you don't have to have people that supports them and gives them Trooper of the Year or lets them continue to work when they're buying drugs. They're arresting people for less than what they're doing themselves. Stealing fence, stealing ammo, stealing guns, stealing time on the time clock, reporting in for work while you're at your house. That's theft. A lot of these things is less. And especially if Doug Asher says they paid an insurance policy off when the guy was SI, but he spent 30 years in the state police and never contacted the state police, or the FBI, U.S. Attorney's Office, United States Attorney, never filed a written complaint, never, ever. Then write a book and try to sell a book and sell a story later on after you've let somebody commit insurance fraud. Sorry, guys. She's kicking me under. She's sitting right there. You all can't see her, but she's sitting right there and she's beating my leg to death. So I've got to get off and take me a. Right. Yeah. So, sorry it took so long. Got an interesting book coming out. We had one small book, just about our experience of what we were overwhelmed when we done that because we were in as much shock as everybody else. And we had it was an awakening for me in my religious walk. And I'm still on that walk, still trying, stumble every day. And, but I'm still trying. But, that's my mentor over there. And that's why she's kicking me. But, catch you on the next one. Thanks, guys. You want to say anything?
Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye. God bless.
God bless, guys.